Welcome. Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Our service today is called All Souls, celebrating our ancestors and our beloveds. It's wonderful to see more people here in the room with me. I am the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Trilligator. My pronouns are she and her, and I am grateful to be your minister. Welcome to worship. Today, we honor the ancient tradition of All Souls by remembering both our ancestors and our loved ones who have passed on. As you can see, I've set up an altar here of candles, and some of you have sent in photos, so I've also created a digital altar, which we'll look at later in the service. But whether you've prepared for this service or not, whether you've sent something in or not, you will be invited to join in, to name names of your beloveds or your ancestors, or share memories, if you like, later on in the service. If folks at home want to take a moment now to go grab a photo or a memento, they are welcome to do so. Today's service will be another experiment in creating hybrid worship together, and there may be some snafus, kind of mispronounce that, snafus, but we will persevere as always. As I like to say, our goal here is not perfection, but connection with ourselves, with the holy, and with one another. I hope this service helps you connect today. I had a little microphone problem and I got unzipped this morning, so let me fix that right now. Helping me today are two wonderful volunteers. Jenny Wengrovius is our in-person usher in the back, and Karen Gabler is our chat host on Zoom. Thank you, Karen. Now, there we go, that's better. Anyone who was here last week knows that we had a couple of hiccups with our technology, but Dan and Bill did quite a bit of work this past week, and so we're feeling grateful to them and confident today. Still, if anybody has any audio or video issues, please let us know. People in the sanctuary can just raise your hand and Jenny will come to you and help us troubleshoot. The people online, go ahead and open your mics and let us know, or Karen, our chat host, can let us know too. Two big pieces of wonderful positive church news this week. First is that the safety team met and they decided to open up more seating space here in the sanctuary. So much, in fact, that we no longer need to sign up and reserve space for worship. So you can just come on down when you want to. Hooray. And we have more people here today, and it feels really good. Thank you for coming. The second big piece of news is that for the first time in almost 2 years, we will be able to share a meal together today, in person. Thank you, universe. After worship out on the front lawn, it's the Harvest Fair Cafe or something like it. Absolutely everybody is invited to come on down and join in. Thanks to a team of hardworking volunteers led by our wonderful Beth Cockrum, we can offer you, for just a modest fee to cover costs, your choice of split pea soup, meat chili, bean chili, and 4 kinds of pie. 4 kinds of pie. Come on down, we'll start serving around 12:15. Yay, so people in the room are excited about 4 kinds of pie. And in addition to that, we have 2 activities that you can do while you're eating. We've set up a cornhole game for family fun out there on the lawn. And secondarily, to tie the meal with the worship service today, our worship committee has suggested that you might want to chat with your friends over food about your memories of your ancestors and food. Did you have a favorite dish that your grandma made? Did your grandma make noodles from scratch the way mine did? So just food for our conversation later this afternoon. Now, let's get cooking in here. It's time for our weekly greeting practice with one another. People in the room can wave and shoot hugs, and people on Zoom, you can switch to gallery view and wave hi to each other and say good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, there's more people here. Can we see people at home? Hi, people at home. Hi, people at home. Thank you for coming this morning. Oh, you all look good. You all look really good. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for putting the Zoom grid up. It's great to see each other this morning. So now let me call us to worship. I call us to worship with these words from the Reverend Kathleen McTeague. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring the world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might yet come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust. They have not disappeared. They are with us still. Their lives hold ours steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them we choose the deeper path of living. Now, along with UUs everywhere, we light the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice. This morning, our chalice will be lit by longtime member and hardworking volunteer Carol Nestor. She will give us a reading to go with it.
This morning's reading is by Florence Caplow. As we kindle this, the flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision. Their courage lives on in our commitments, and their love continues to bless the world through us.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol.
Our opening hymn this morning is Breaths. The song is based on a poem by the Senegalese writer and folklorist Birago Diop. And it was set to music by the UU singer Dr. Isai Barnwell, one of the original members of Sweet Honey in the Rock. Lyrics will be projected behind me, but it is also 1001 in the Teal hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn.
Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the one.
Please remain standing and let us join together in the words of our covenant, followed by the song of aspiration. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Now it's time for our story. This week, Katie has a beautiful tale for us about nature and loss and how we process our grief. It's Granddad's Prayers of the Earth by Douglas Wood.
When I was little, my granddad was my best friend. Being with him always made the world seem right. Granddad and I liked to go for walks in the woods together. We didn't walk very far or very fast. While we walked, I would ask him questions about things I wasn't sure of. Why is it, Granddad? And what if? And does it ever? One day, I asked my granddad about prayers. For a long time, Granddad was quiet. He didn't say anything until we came to the tallest trees in the forest. Did you know that trees pray? He whispered. I listened closely, but I couldn't hear them. See how they reach for the sky, he said. And what else is reaching for heaven but a prayer? Rocks pray too, said Granddad. Pebbles and boulders and old weathered hills, they are still and silent, and those are two important ways to pray. We walked a little farther and came to a small stream. The water splashed and sparkled. Do streams pray too, Granddad? I asked. Streams pray too, he answered, and rivers and lakes and waters of all kinds. Sometimes they pray silently, like the rocks, reflecting clouds and sunsets. Sometimes they pray with movement, flowing across the earth. Flowers pray as they breathe sweetness into the air. The wind prays as it whispers and moans and sighs. It is saying a prayer and singing a hymn at the same time. A bird prays when it sings the first song of the morning, and it prays in that silent moment just before it sings. Each living thing gives its life to the beauty of all life, and that gift is its prayer. Then we were quiet, Granddad and I. I was thinking about all he had said about rocks and trees and birds and flowers. Finally, I asked him to tell me about the prayers of people. Granddad smiled. People pray some of the most wonderful prayers of all. Bending down to smell a flower or making music or painting a picture can be a prayer. Quietly watching the sunrise and saying hello to a new day is one of the oldest prayers. Holding hands around the table with family and friends, remembering all that holds us together and giving thanks is one of the greatest prayers. Sometimes, said Granddad, people pray when they are sad or have a problem too big to carry themselves. They may say words that they learned from their ancestors, but often they must find their own words. The important thing to remember is that the words will always be right if they are real and true and come from the heart. Granddad said it was time to go back, but I had one last question. Are our prayers answered, Granddad? Most prayers are not really questions, he said. And if we listen very closely, a prayer is often its own answer. My granddad and I went for many walks after that one, and I often listened for the prayers of the earth, but was never sure I heard them. Then one day, my granddad was gone. And no matter how hard I prayed, he didn't come back. He couldn't come back. I prayed and prayed and prayed until I couldn't pray anymore. And so I didn't for a long time. And the world seemed dark and lonely without my granddad in it. Until one day, I went for a walk. I found a big rock under some tall trees and sat down on it. Overhead, the branches swayed and a breeze whispered in the leaves. I heard a stream flowing nearby and a robin singing from a honeysuckle bush. And I heard something else too, something in the sounds of breezes and birds and water. I heard prayers. The earth was praying, just like my granddad said. So I joined in. Thank you, I prayed, for tall trees and sweet flowers, for still rocks and singing birds, and especially for my granddad. And as I prayed, something changed, and my granddad seemed nearer somehow. And for the first time in a long time, the world seemed just right.
Each week we take time for centering ourselves. We create a place here with one another. You don't hear me. Thank you. Let's check this out. My mic, this needs to be up higher. Can I have more volume? Or better now? Okay, good. Let's start again. Each week we take time out for centering ourselves. We create a place together where each of us can come and be in touch with our ideals, our sense of the holy. Let's start by relaxing into our chairs, feeling our feet on the floor, letting our bodies settle. Let us breathe in and out together. In this meditation time, first we'll join in our centering song, and then we'll sit together for a time of shared silence. Then we'll speak to one another of our joys and sorrows, and I will lead us in a meditation. Our worship theme for November is holding history. So it makes sense to think about our ancestors. Our centering song for the month is We Are, another song by the amazing Dr. Isai Barnwell. Our choir recorded this version just the other night, adding in images of their own ancestors. Please feel free to sing along. The lyrics are provided. Again, after the song, we share 2 minutes of silence.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we of the Spirit of God.
Every Sunday, we share with one another the joys and sorrows of our lives, our personal milestones. We listen and we witness with compassion, growing over time into a stronger community. First, if you have a sorrow to share today, people at home can type it into the chat box on Zoom, and I will read them aloud. Jenny, do you have any sorrows on paper to share?
I do, yes. This sorrow comes from Kathy saying, for the nearly 750,000 Americans and many, many more worldwide who have died from COVID-19. We have another from Adrian W.
Can you hear?
Yep. My Aunt Penelope passed away suddenly on October 31st. She was the matriarch of my dad's side of the family.
In our Zoom room, we have a candle of concern from Dan Franklin. It's for my brother who has smoldering multiple myeloma and is just enrolled in a clinical trial for a new treatment. Thank you, Dan. Let us take a moment together to hold all these sorrows in our hearts and in our minds. Let us reach out with love to all who are hurting today, offering our support and help. Jenny, if you would go ahead and light the gray candle as a beacon of care for all the sorrows that are spoken and unspoken today. And now we speak of our joys to one another. You can type them into the chat box, and we'll see if Jenny has any on paper.
I do have one, if I can get my napkin, excuse me. This is from Cheryl R. Live performances are back. The MSO, the Symphony Orchestra, last night, and Randy Rainbow this afternoon. Also, Descendants is coming soon at the middle school. Great.
Thank you, Jenny. I don't see any joys in our Zoom room. I'll ask Karen, who is the Zoom host this morning, if I've missed any. Karen, are you there? I don't.
Yes, I'm here. You have not missed any. I don't see it. Oh, here's one from Beth, your grub.
Beth says, a candle of joy. Our son, David, announced his engagement to his girlfriend, Emily. We are very happy. Congratulations. Okay, Jenny, go ahead and light that orange candle. Thank you all for sharing your joys. They help connect us and remind us of all the blessings in our lives. We light this second candle. To shine out our thanks for all these many blessings. Thank you, Jenny. Please join me in the spirit of meditation. This is a meditation called Immortality. It was written by Leslie Takahashi, our minister in Walnut Creek, California. In the daily weave of our lives, those who have died are still strong, guiding threads. Theirs is the golden glimmer, or perhaps the brilliant red, or the melancholy blue. Still, they are part of the whole cloth of our lives. They are the ancestors, the goers before. Through them, we know immortality. In the hour-to-hour rush of our daily tasks, they travel with us through something they taught us, which is now ours to do, through something they loved, which is now ours to carry out, through something we shared, which is now ours alone, and yet not. Through this, we know immortality. In the minute-to-minute grasp of where we are, we remember the joys our departed gave us, which opened us to hope, the sorrows we knew together, which taught us strength, the life shared, which is now ours to steward. Through this, we know immortality. In the second-to-second pulse of life, we sense the spirit of those we have loved and lost. This presence is too shy for naming, too amorphous for full knowing, and yet it is as real as the days we shared. Through this, we know immortality. They are more than remembered. They are memory itself. For what we love lives on in the way our beloved dead accompany us through life, their words and wisdom our guide, their humor our relief, their restless concern for the world our charge. Through this, we know immortality. Amen. Now it's our time for our offertory. Our church is a totally self-supporting organization fueled by your generous annual pledge. You may also contribute to our weekly collection plate, which we split every month with a worthy cause. You can donate either way through the orange button in the top right corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. Folks here in the room can leave donations in the plate as they leave afterward. For November, our giving partner is Bread of Life in Malden, which feeds hungry people across our area. This past week, as one of our sorrows mentioned, the number of deaths worldwide from COVID crossed a new landmark, 5 million around the world. Experts say the number is probably far higher. So in this All Souls service, I felt it important for us to pause and try to get our minds around such a huge number. So I offer you, as our offertory today, a tribute. This is a song performed by my colleague and friend, the Reverend Dan Schatz, our minister in Westchester, Pennsylvania. About a year ago, Dan chose this song in his own worship service as a COVID tribute. It was originally written by Kathy Fink. She was inspired in the 1990s by the AIDS quilt. I've added images to Dan's video to illustrate the song's journey. First, you'll see a few photos of the AIDS quilt, and then you'll see many more of COVID tributes from around the world, from places like Detroit, Washington, D.C., Houston, Pennsylvania, Chicago, Brazil, China. The song is called Names by Kathy Fink.
Had
patchwork with thousands of precious names. There must be someone that you know, woven together in a quilted frame. Names the loved ones won't let go. And I know that my name could be there, and I feel the pain and the fear. And as human love and passions do not make us all the same, we are counted not as numbers but as names. We grieve for the lovers and the families, and I pray they'll meet again someday. But until that time, I will carry the flame. As the numbers grow, we'll not forget their names. And I know that my name could be there, and I feel the pain and the fear. And as human love and passions do not make us all the same, we are counted not as numbers but as names. A lover, a carpenter, a father, a friend, a sister, a minister, a mom. Each quilted piece holds a memory. Each memory helps us to go on. And I know that my name could be there, and I feel the pain and the fear. And as human love and passions do not make us all the same, we are counted not as numbers but as names. And as human love and passions do not make us all the same, we are counted not as numbers but as names.
In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. These are the words of the Reverend Kathleen McTeague, part of the poem that I used in our call to worship this morning. She says, "It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. We share a history with those lives. We belong to the same motion." I'd like to begin our ceremony of remembrance this morning by asking our usher, Jenny, to come forward and help me light some candles. I want to start with these two large memorial candles. These are our brass candlesticks. They were given to the church as a memorial to mark the death of a member in World War II. And they've been part of our church now for at least 50 years. Can we light one at a time, please, Jenny? I'll step up here. Okay. I light the first one. In memoriam, let this candle honor the 5 million lives lost around the world to COVID, for all the families and friends around the world, and for the people who took care of those people. May they all find peace. We light this second memorial candle to honor all of our forebears in this congregation, those people who sacrificed to build this building and this community. Let us honor specific people now by calling out their names. Folks on Zoom can type into the chat box, and folks here can call them out. Right now, we're just speaking the names of people in this congregation who have gone before us, people who built this building and this community. We want to call out their names, people who are part of the story of this congregation. I'll start. Hosea Ballou, Squaw Sachem of the Mystic. Bob Jones. I invite anyone here or anyone on Zoom to call out names. Don Gould. Alice Heald. Bill Pendleton. Joe Gould. Charlotte Weiss. Bob Weiss. Alan Gromitstein. Jean Pendleton. Jean Moray. I also want to name Sandra Henry and Dorothy Emerson. On Zoom, we also heard Alan Gromitstein and Joe Gould, Anna Mancini. Josephine Moody. Any other names? Lou Butler. Elsie Allen. Ernest Hart. Thank you. With these ancestors now gathered here with us as our great cloud of witnesses, I invite us further into deeper sharing. For our All Souls ceremony today, I've built 2 altars. First, this one here in the sanctuary with candles, and our digital altar where I've collected the photos that people sent in. Because we're in hybrid worship and I'm wanting to gather sharing from both groups of people, I'm going to invite people to share in a certain order just so we can try to hear and see everybody who shares. So first, I'm going to ask that we begin sharing by talking about the photos that people sent in earlier this week. So I'd like to ask the people in the room who sent in a photo they'd like to share, if you could come forward, maybe line up one at a time against this wall, come forward, light some candles, and then one at a time step to this mic. Jenny will help you and share about your photos. Bill, could you put up the digital altar, please? There we go. These are the photos that were sent in by people earlier. Again, if you didn't send in a photo, there'll be time for you to share later today. But if you did send in one of these and you'd like to speak about it, please, if you would, keep distance and come against this wall. I will start us today. Bill, if we could please look at photo number 1. I'd like to speak about photo number 1. This is the wedding of my grandparents in Detroit sometime in the 19-teens. These 2 people are the people who risked everything for my future. They left everything and everyone that they knew before, and they crossed a great ocean to start their lives over again, to find opportunity for their children and grandchildren. I honor their courage today. Bill, I'd also like to speak about photo number 2. This is my father, their son. He was a kind and loving man, a school teacher for 30 years, a pillar to his family and to his community. I honor his faithfulness. Can we have someone come forward and light a candle? And then if you would, tell us which photo you'd like to talk about and start with your name. Bill, if you could go back, there you go, perfect.
I'm Dan Griscom, and this is about photo number 12, my parents, Joanna Starr Griscom and Nathan Thorne Griscom.
Have to get right up close to that mic. Yeah, you have to tell Bill first. Speak into the mic and say, photo number 4, please.
Photo number 4, please.
There we go.
My cousin Alan, who passed away from COVID, December of 2020. He was like a big brother to me. I never met him until I went to college at UMass, and I was a freshman and he was in graduate school, and he just showed me kind of the way of the world, and my first theater, my first glass of wine, my first like museum. So I miss him dearly.
Beautiful. We've ruled that one person at a time can take off their mask. So when you're speaking, if you'd like to do that, you may.
Number 7 is Dan Kelleher. He's a neighbor that we met when we first moved to Melrose, when Nancy and I first moved to Melrose. So he is sorely missed.
Thank you, Michael.
Picture number 19.
Go ahead. Go up to the mic.
I'm a little short for this.
There you go.
So that's my grandmother, Madeline Sarno. She was next to her father, the shorter of the 2 smaller girls. My great-grandparents, Paul and Grace, and their 6 children. And I'm guessing by the baby on my great-grandfather's lap, if you remember it, Dominic, which was taken in 1920-something. So my grandmother was probably about 11 or 12 in this picture. And next to her is her sister May. My great aunt Rose is sitting, and then my great uncle Peter and Frank.
We're going to try this mic instead. Let's see.
I didn't bring a picture in advance, but I have a picture of my brother who died last 2020 April. He's my younger brother and my only sibling, and I miss him very much. And we had a celebration of his life in August of this year, finally, when things died down a little bit with the COVID. And I have his picture here and the tribute that I gave to him. I'd just like to leave it, if I could, with the church.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What should I do with
Joe.
it? Right over there?
Yeah, thank you. Is this mic better? Can you hear?
Can you hear me? So I have a little bit of a story, if you have patience with me. November and December are really tough months for me. Oh, sorry, number 11.
Good, thank you.
November and December are really tough months for me, especially this year. My aunt just passed away, and she hosted Thanksgiving. So it's going to be a rough go, I think, for the next couple of weeks. But I have a happy memory to share, something my family is really proud of. My grandfather, Papa, who's in this picture, was an officer in the Royal Navy, and he was a teacher of radar and sonar. He was posted to New Jersey near Asbury Park. And then he met my grandmother, Mama, also in the photo, at a USO dance, and they were married about 9 months later. So Mama moved to London while Papa was sent on a battleship into the Mediterranean and then Egypt. And Mama was just outside of London. My Aunt Penelope was born there during the war, and then their house was bombed, so they moved to the country. After the war, this is the really proud part. My grandfather, Papa, was just so proud that he was able to come to America as a war bride. And he's just so proud of that title. And the story goes that my father was conceived on the ship Queen Elizabeth II on the way to America, and then born in New Jersey, where the rest of their siblings were born. So just the story about him being a war bride.
Thanks, Adrian.
My picture is number 18. So this is a photo of my father, Aldo, who was a career officer in the Italian cavalry and a champion equestrian rider for most of his career before he got married. And he actually coached the Italian team to the World Championships in 1960. But my mother, who was born in this country but was living over there after they got married, decided that the family's future was in this country. So he gave up that career and brought us here.
Thank you, Paul. 23, please, Bill.
This is a photo of my grandparents, Jean and Harry, and Jean passed away in December of 2020. It's another photo with her. My dad passed away when I was 25. It's a photo of he and I together. And we're wearing green today because green was Nan's favorite color. And Vivi also brought a photo of another being that we're missing. It's not a great photo, but it's a photo of our kitty Leo, who we also miss very much.
And Olivia wasn't in it, but Olivia was
our other kitty Livy, we also miss a lot. We just didn't have a pic on hand.
Number 5, please. This is a picture of Janice's father, David Newell, who passed away in 2017. We miss him every day. He was truly the patriarch of the family.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Now I want to invite the folks on Zoom, those people who sent in a photo earlier and like to talk about that. Please, if you would type the word speak into the chat box, and I will call on you one at a time. Jenny will light a candle here for you. Then you can unmute yourself, and Bill will find you and spotlight you, and also the photo that you'd like to talk about. So let's see. First is Josh Shortledge.
Number 8.
Josh wants to speak about photo 8.
Photo 8. So this is Lucy Channing. It's a oil painting that hung behind the couch in my grandmother's house.
Louder, please. Sorry, we're having trouble hearing you here in this sanctuary, Josh. One second.
Okay, this is Lucy Channing is the sister of William Ellery Channing. This painting hung behind a couch in my grandma's house. And, you know, it's just this regal painting. It's now in the MFA because we couldn't be trusted holding on to it, but it's a beautiful painting, and maybe even before photographs. So she has some connection to the UU Church and through her brother, William Ellery. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Next is Karen Gabler. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. I also want to add to the people who were remembered from the church. Jean Tay sent Lee Fagan, and Tom sent Michael DeMarcico. So those were 2 people they wanted to honor that came in after you started talking. Okay, I'm number 15, photo number 15, please. This is my mother and my grandmother, my mother on my left and her mother. And I want to honor the strong women in my family from these photos. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next is Rebecca Mooney.
Photo number 9, please.
I didn't hear you, Rebecca. Oh,
number 9.
Perfect, thank you.
So this is a picture of my dad, and obviously it's Christmas. He's helping me open a gift. I'm the little blonde, and my sister Carol is on the other side. And I believe we lived in Dallas, Texas at the time. And my dad passed away in 1998, and we miss him.
Thank you. Next is Randall Gromitstein.
Hi, I'd like to speak about 22. So there's a photo of my father, Margaret's husband, Alan Gromitstein, his father, Abraham, and Abraham's parents, also, I believe, Abraham, and his parents came from Russia in the late 1880s to start a new life in Manhattan. And my father's family has been there ever since.
Thank you, Randall. Next, Beth Yergrow. Beth?
Hi, I would like to do number 20 and the young couple to the left.
Beth, your sound is
My dad died.
not coming through.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. Go ahead, Beth.
Okay, so my mother died in 2017 and my father in 2020. And they both died while they were still very engaged in life. And they were forever kind, playful, adventuresome, and both very good listeners. And I will always miss them. On the right is my maternal grandmother in the early 1900s. Her name was Madeline, but she was known by me and all my friends as Nana, and her brother Fran. And Nana and Fran used to live with us about 3 or 4 days a week and always took care of us if our parents went away. So I'm very grateful for growing up in a 3-generational home. And my paternal grandparents lived about 2 blocks away. And I was surrounded by other aunts and uncles in the town I grew up with. And I'm always grateful for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth. Next is James in Trilligator.
Hi, I wanted to talk about photo number 10, please. Sorry, photo number 10. So that's my father, Mike in Trilligator. And since I helped make the slideshow, I got to throw a few photos of him in there. He was a professor at UCLA for basically his entire life in a couple different departments, and wonderful guy, and we all miss him very much. One of my favorite expressions of his was, "The best things in life are free." He used to always tell us that when we were little kids, and we all miss him very much.
Okay, next is Brian Johnson.
Yeah, let's see. Number 16, we have Betty and Ken Johnson. Betty, my mother, is still around with us, but my dad passed a few years ago. And when this is them in this 1973, they're taking us on a 2-month trip across the country. My father has just sold his business, a newspaper, and so he's always been an inspiration to me of just work hard and follow what you want to do, and I just always remember him.
Thank you, Brian. Now I want to move on to the next group of people. Those are people in the room who maybe didn't send something beforehand, but brought something with them today, or would like to come forward and share a name or a memory. I know there's at least one of you. Come on. If you would stand along that wall again and try to observe social distancing. David, why don't you come first? So we don't need, come this way. There we go, thanks. Just to keep things moving along. Come and stand by this mic.
Can you see this? This is my mother. She passed away 20 years ago in July. She was a softball coach, a big supporter of Title IX, also a bus driver, elementary school teacher, and Cub Scout leader, among many other things. I miss her.
Go ahead and put it on the table if you like, David. You collect things. Thank you, David. Come forward, Cheryl.
I brought a picture of Chris's parents. It was actually the day after they graduated high school and they had eloped to get married. We think it was in 1963 because his sister was born in 64, we think. So this is a picture of them, and his father died in 2006 and his mother just passed away this past May. She got in her second COVID shot, but I guess it must have triggered something with cancer in her body. So that's what she ultimately died of. But we miss her and we miss him. And I wish I had met him, and I treasure the 5 years I got with her.
Hi. I have a picture of the last photo taken of my father and me together. It was in Thanksgiving of 2003 at my sister's house. And he died the following April. This was 2004. And I had just been treated for breast cancer. It was a really emotional time in my life. And we were born on the same day, December 5th. And he was a really, really amazing man. He was very intense. And I inherited a lot from him, I think. He served in World War II, and he worked his way up from, he became a major in the Army under General Patton. He was a hero. And this is his mother, Mabel. I wish I knew more about Mabel, but her father was a photographer, and this is a photo that her father had taken of her, and I remember her making succotash.
Great, how's that, okay?
I think so, yeah.
So this is a picture of my dad, Mark Charton, and he passed away in 2015. He was a really sweet, funny guy, loved his children and his grandchildren and their families. He loved puns and dad jokes. He loved to make people laugh. He's also the kind of person that you could really talk to and get perspective. So my brother and I often lean on each other for that because we miss him so much in that respect as we experience our lives without him now.
Thanks, Barbara.
This is Margaret and Max Taylor, my maternal grandparents. They were two kind and gentle souls. They've both been gone for a long time now. And they did and were a lot in their lives, but foremost grandparents.
Come on, John, we'll let Eric figure that out. I think he can do it. Eric is going to put that on the altar one way or another.
This is my friend and colleague Adrian Van Balahoyen, who died a couple months ago.
Thank you.
This is my father, Jim Tresner, who died in December 2020, a couple months after being diagnosed with aggressive brain cancer, given 2 to 4 weeks. He had a beautiful, clear tenor voice, and we were peas in a pod, for better and for worse. It was great to have someone who understood me in that way. I'd also like to remember our cat, Tessa, elderly cat, who died last week. And was a connection to a dear friend of mine who had been her probably second person, Kathy Moore.
Thank you, Kara. Put that back in. You can hold it.
A couple of more.
church members whom I think may have been overlooked in what we called out before. The first is Marjorie Service. Marjorie died a few years ago, past the age of 100, and she is best known as the main benefactor for our accessible entrance on the west side of the building. Beyond being the benefactor, she gave us a lot of encouragement, maybe not so mild encouragement, to get the project done. So that was much appreciated. The other is for Marion James, who is the co-author of the recipe for today's meat chili.
Thank you, Chuck. And one last group that I need to invite to share, because I promised that I would, is people on Zoom who didn't bring a photo in, but still have something they want to share. If you would just please type in "speak" in the chat box, I will call on you one at a time. Is there anybody left on Zoom who needs to share and needs to at least speak a name this morning? I don't see any more. Well, thank you
Gail
so much.
Maynard. Gail Maynard.
Gail Maynard, thank you. She just typed that in now, I think. Gail, go ahead and speak.
Hi. I was in the Newburyport Raleigh area yesterday, and I have an ancestor who came in the 1600s from England. His name was Maximilian Jewett. And although, you know, all the puritanical stuff that the Puritans did, all the things that they did, that was awful. I am just so amazed by his courage and leadership. He was leadership in the community, a leader in the community there in Raleigh. And there's a great big boulder erected or stuck in his honor and his brother's honor. So I'm pretty proud of that heritage.
Gail was speaking about her Puritan ancestors. Thank you, Gail.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Wilson-Wright would like to share these names. Charles Wilson Sr., Charles Wilson Jr., her father, Cecilia Wilson, Dorothy Fishback, Michael Fishback, Richard Fishback, my godfather. Thank you, Lisa. I'm glad we were able to bring in everyone. And now to close out the sharing, I'm going to come back up here to the center and close us in the spirit of prayer with these words from Kathleen McPeak. Thank you, Jenny. It is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might yet come to be. Those who lived before us, who struggled for justice and suffered injustice before us, have not melted into the dust. They have not disappeared. They are with us still. Their lives hold our lives steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them, we choose the deeper path of living. Now it's time for our closing hymn. Tara is going to introduce it for us.
We close today with "We Are," performed by its songwriter, the great Isai Barnwell, and the General Assembly Choir. The video was produced and directed by my music director colleague in Phoenix, Benji Messer, and created by a huge team of people when we were all just learning to do stuff like this in the spring of 2020. You'll also notice that this video is clearly the inspiration for our centric song this month. Let's sing together. We Are.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Please, if you would, remain standing and join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you. You may be seated. Our service has ended. In just a minute, folks on Zoom can go into breakout rooms for our virtual coffee hour. Folks here in the sanctuary can exit all the way to the front lawn and have a little chat. In the meantime, Tara will play a short postlude for us. And I just want to remind everyone, the Harvest Fair Cafe is today. Join us at noon on the front lawn. Thank you all for worshiping with us.